In the quiet early hours of a warm Caribbean night, something unusual appears far beyond the shipping lanes. At exactly 2:11 a.m., a cluster of faint signatures flickers across the synthetic aperture radar of a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon aircraft. At first, the dots look like scattered noise, but as the software sharpens the image, the truth forms. 93 speedboats, all running over 50 knots, all carrying cocaine worth nearly $90 million, and all heading straight toward North America. The formation stretches across the sea like a white wake carved into black glass. No navigation lights, no AIS, no radio calls, just silent boats driven by high-powered engines. A moving shadow over the water, a fleet so large that even seasoned analysts stare at the screen for a moment in disbelief. For years, cartels used submarines, disguised containers, fishing trawlers. They always hid. But now something new has emerged. A coordinated armada designed to outrun every patrol, overwhelm every radar, and move drugs in quantities never seen before. Tonight, the only barrier between this fleet and the American coast is a single Arleigh Burke class destroyer. 2 Coast Guard cutters, a P-8 in the sky, and a Navy SEAL team waiting in complete silence. And the operation that will unfold in the next 30 minutes has been prepared for weeks. This is the story of how the United States set a trap in the middle of the Caribbean and erased a cartel fleet from the ocean in one of the most coordinated maritime operations ever executed. The clue that started all of this appeared months earlier inside the FBI Miami field office. Analysts noticed an unsettling trend. Every 30 days, shipments worth tens of millions vanished from Colombia without any seizures. No containers intercepted, no submersibles caught, no lone go-fast boats stopped. Just disappearance. A hole in the map. A route no one could see. Signal teams studied low-frequency radio bursts recorded offshore. They matched them to digital payments moving between accounts linked to a shadowy group calling itself La Corona del Mar. Not a normal cartel. Not a gang with a few boats on standby. This was a specialized maritime network. An outfit building, maintaining and launching entire fleets of small composite speedboats. Each one light enough to confuse radar, fast enough to outrun most chase boats, and cheap enough to replace in bulk. When the FBI reconstructed the route using financial records, weather patterns, and intercepted radio cues, the picture clicked into place. The boats launched from a remote stretch of the Guajira coastline. They fanned out to avoid heat detection, then regrouped at a blind spot several hundred nautical miles northwest, far beyond usual patrol zones. From there, they sprinted toward Mexico, where smaller crews would smuggle the load onto land. The biggest problem was simple. No civilian agency can chase 90 boats running 50 knots at night. If one boat is stopped, 10 others scatter. If you intercept the left flank, the right flank slips through. So the answer could not be pursuit. It had to be containment. One moment, one trap, one kill box. The FBI sent the request. The Navy responded. The Coast Guard joined. 3 branches combined into one task force with a single objective: end the fleet on its next run. Inside the Joint Command Center in Florida, commanders studied maps so detailed they showed every reef line and mid-ocean ridge. They found a corridor between 2 shallow water zones, 14 nautical miles wide, strong cross currents, a bottleneck where the cartel would be forced to run straight, otherwise burn too much fuel and lose speed. That corridor became the heart of the plan, a silent trap at sea. Preparation moved fast. An Arleigh Burke destroyer was assigned as the main platform. On board, a SEAL team of 12 trained for engine disable, rapid boarding, and target capture. 2 Coast Guard fast response cutters formed the outer ring. An LCS ship moved into position to block deep water escape routes. Overhead, the P-8 Poseidon would track everything from high altitude using radar strong enough to read signatures through cloud cover. Every unit switched to passive mode long before the fleet was expected. The destroyer ran a fake patrol route before slipping into the trap zone. Cutters drifted to pre-calculated positions. The sea looked empty, but the kill box waited, silent and invisible. At 2:11 a.m., the Poseidon sent the first alert. The signatures were faint but clustered. 93 heat trails arranged in a subtle pattern. Staggered, angled, offset. A rake formation. A deliberate method to confuse long-range surveillance by spreading heat. As the aircraft circled again, the dots sharpened. Engines running hard. Hulls slicing water. The fleet had launched. The P-8 transmitted the motion curve to the task force, then scanned again at a lower angle. Infrared confirmed it. 93 boats. All moving northwest. All consistent with La Corona del Mar. The operation began. On the surface, the destroyer slowed. Lights off. Sensors passive. The LCS drifted to the left wing. The cutters held position inside the kill box. The SEAL team stood still on the aft deck, helmets on, NVGs ready, weapons locked. They knew the first rule of the operation. Let every single boat enter. Fire too early and the fleet scatters. Fire too late and they punch through the corridor. Timing was everything. By 2:47 a.m., the boats shifted slightly left to avoid a reef line. Exactly as predicted. The cross-current forced them to straighten. Poseidon updated the task force every few seconds. The heat signatures grew larger on the screen. They looked like a necklace of red sparks pulled across the ocean. At 3:18 a.m., the fleet accelerated to clear the first shallow zone. Their sawtooth pattern became tighter. Engines roared louder. They were now committed. No turning out without losing fuel and falling behind. The bottleneck pulled them in like a funnel. Then at 3:41 a.m., the moment came. The lead boats crossed the invisible line into the trap. Seconds later, the entire formation followed. 93 speedboats inside the corridor. 93 targets with no room to turn. The task force commander gave a short command that everyone had waited for. Execute. A Seahawk helicopter lifted off the destroyer with a burst of wind, climbed high, then dipped low toward the water. Its open bay door revealed a marksman trained to hit a propeller from 60 feet. The first target sped beneath him. The marksman fired a controlled burst. The engine sparked. The boat shook violently. Then silence. Dead in the water. Another. Then another. 4 boats disabled in the first 30 seconds. 11 more within the next minute. Each time the Seahawk banked, adjusted, and struck with perfect precision. On the edges of the corridor, Coast Guard interceptor boats launched at full power. They bounced over shifting swells, pushing through the chop, ready to block any speedboat attempting to break out. Their small size and strong engines made them ideal for cutting angles the larger Cartel boats could not handle. Meanwhile, the SEAL team waited. The rule was simple. Board only when the formation loses enough speed that central boats begin drifting into each other or slowing down. At 3:54 a.m., that moment arrived. Engines across the fleet started coughing, sputtering, or dying from hits. Some Cartel members panicked and threw cargo overboard. Others tried to fire short-range weapons, mostly homemade and unstable. The destroyer moved slightly forward. 3 ropes dropped into darkness. SEALs slid down fast and quiet, landing on 3 central speedboats that carried the highest value cargo and key Cartel operators. The decks shook under the sudden weight. Commands shouted in Spanish cut through the night, but stun grenades exploded in bright white flashes, followed by rapid controlled takedowns. No wasted shots, no chaos, just clean and quiet suppression. One of the Cartel commanders tried jerking the wheel to escape the corridor. A SEAL blocked him, pinned him to the deck, and secured him with a plastic restraint. Within seconds, more SEALs jumped between boats, disabling engines, pulling radios, and clearing compartments. On the outer ring, the Coast Guard trapped several runners into crosswaves. Engines overheated, some boats capsized, others shut down when marksmen hit the right angle of the propeller shaft. Every escape route closed. By the 27th minute of the operation, the formation was gone. Not escaped, not scattered, gone. The sea inside the trap was filled with drifting hulls, seized cargo, floating debris, and blinking red strobes attached by SEAL divers to mark evidence locations. When the sun rose hours later, the numbers became even clearer. Over 5,000 pounds of cocaine recovered. Multiple encrypted satellite phones seized. Low-frequency radios captured. Offline GPS units pulled from compartments. All of them filled with routes, schedules, names, and coordinates. The real gold for investigators. A full map of a Cartel network built over years but shattered in a single night. 14 high-ranking members arrested. 93 boats disabled, sunk, or transported to port. Every asset La Corona del Mar depended on gone. The secret corridor they relied on erased from the ocean. For the United States, Operation Silver Stream became a symbol of what coordinated intelligence, patience, and discipline can achieve. And for millions of people who would have seen the impact of those drugs in their communities, the operation ended a threat they never knew existed. As one senior officer said in the after-action report, the battle was finished the moment the last boat crossed the corridor line. If you want more powerful military missions, modern security operations, and the hidden battles that shape our world, support the channel with a like and subscribe. Your support helps bring these videos to life.